Hello and welcome to the viewers of this video. This is the Orange Fan here, bringing you another entry for the episode Recap and Thoughts category. This video will be dedicated to the A segment of episode 5 of The Loud House, Project Loud House. We begin this segment with Lincoln adding the final touches to a school project he has to do. It's a diorama of his family that bears a strong resemblance to one of the show's promotional posters. His teacher has instructed the class to talk about their families and what they're like, so this is the visual aid for Lincoln's project. He tells the audience, though, that creating the diorama itself was actually the easy part. The hard part is trying to get it out the door, not just on time, but in one piece, because of the chaos that his family embodies. So we start off with Lincoln trying to go through the process of getting everyone ready for school while protecting his diorama. Well, actually, he leaves the diorama in his room, and he just focuses on getting everyone downstairs so they can get ready for breakfast. Some of the obstacles he runs into are Luann constantly trying to pull the bucket of water under the door trick, and Lori is constantly talking to Bobby about some dance and what they should wear for that dance. And after a bit of time, he does manage to get everyone downstairs, and then he's actually the one who hands out the breakfast for them. He comments that their dad is usually the one who does that, but Lincoln gave him the day off because he's pressed for time. And they all like eggs, but different types of eggs. And so he's able to do that and get them their breakfast rather quickly. And it looks like they're finally going to get out the door and make it on time. So Lincoln goes to get his project, but that's where things take a turn for the worst. Apparently, Bobby doesn't like the tux that Lori wants him to wear, and she doesn't take it very well and decides not to even bother going to school over it, and so she locks herself in her room. But we also see that Lisa had replaced one of Lenny's, I believe it was Zit cream. She replaced it with a ointment that turned her skin blue, or kind of looks like a Smurf or one of those aliens from the James Cameron Avatar movie. And Lenny is understandably so not happy about that. And Lincoln demands that Lisa make an antidote right away. And so Lincoln has to try and once again get everyone on track after these problems occur. And he even has to check the ointment that Lisa gave, because while she claims it's the antidote, it actually would have had another hazardous effect, we'll say. And then she does begrudgingly give the actual antidote, so Lenny's all back to normal, and he manages to get everyone out the door once again, except for Lori, who still refuses, even though their mom has already gone off to work, so they can't get anyone else to drive them, as Lori's the only one who has a driver's license at the moment. So to get Lori to cooperate, Lincoln pretends to be Bobby, calling her on the phone to say he'll wear whatever she wants him to wear to get her to cooperate, and it works. So they all head out, and then Lincoln sees that someone is putting in Luna's musical equipment into the van. She introduces the character as her roadie named Chunk, but we don't get to hear him talk in this segment. Lincoln, though, is still a bit paranoid about it, so he decides to stack the musical equipment into the van himself. He does so, but he forgets his project on the driveway. Fortunately, he notices this before the van can run over it. He asks that they stop, and he picks it up. It looks like everything's gonna go well. But then he trips on a rollerblade and the project is smashed up. And Lincoln is devastated, understandably so, that his efforts seem to be in vain. Lori, in a moment of hypocrisy, tells Lincoln to get over his pity party and that they'll be willing to help. But Lincoln wonders how they can put something together again in 10 minutes. The solution? We find out that the Loud Sisters actually volunteer to pose as a live diorama for Lincoln as he gives his project. And they manage to hold their poses in the same way as the original diorama and that promotional poster that it's referencing. We then get to meet Lincoln's teacher, Mrs. Johnson, voiced by Suzanne Blakesy, who also voices Wanda and Mrs. Turner from The Fairly Odd Parents. She thinks that the project was well done and decides to give Lincoln an A, but the segment ends with Mrs. Johnson being on the receiving end of Luann's bucket of water prank and bumps it down to A- because of that. And we conclude the segment. Now, I thought this segment was another enjoyable one. I liked this segment because it was very relatable in my case. I may not have a large, immediate, or direct family, but I definitely can sympathize with the situation where you have to be somewhere at a specific time, but other people are holding up the line, so to speak. So I could definitely understand where Lincoln was coming from. He wanted to get everyone out the door quickly, and I don't fault him for that. I mean, it was very understandable why he would. And to be fair, I mean, they had to go to school too, so it wasn't necessarily just on his case, even though he was mostly concerned for his project, and again, not without good reason. But he also was trying to get everyone out the door on time, and the thing was, his concern about the project being ruined, a nice touch was that he didn't suspect that his sisters would intentionally destroy it, and I liked that because, as we've discussed in the past, there is a tendency for some fans or some viewers to kind of embellish just how awful the sisters are. I mean, they really are a good family overall, even if sometimes they have gotten away with some questionable things. I don't believe that they are personified evil as some exaggerate them to be, and it was a nice touch to see that Lincoln didn't think they would intentionally break his project. It was just more him being concerned that it might accidentally be destroyed in all the ruckus, which is a valid point, I feel, so I liked that. And again, the end of with the sisters helping Lincoln out by posing as a live diorama, that was really sweet, and it was a nice touch to say, yeah, for you people out there that keep thinking the Loud Sisters don't care about Lincoln, here's a good example that they do, and that they can have their moments of kindness. And well, that's a very kind thing to do. Helping your sibling out so that they don't fail their project is a very good thing to do, so kudos. We also got to meet two new characters in this segment, Chunk and Mrs. Johnson, although we don't get to see too much of them, and Chunk doesn't really talk either. But it does help us to widen up the lives of the siblings outside of the family. We get to see who else they interact with besides their family members. Since they said Chunk was Luna's roadie, although we never really found out how they met, but I imagine they probably do have an interest in music. And we do get to meet Lincoln's teacher, but it won't be until later segments when we get to see more of her. But I thought it was a nice introduction all the same. So, in conclusion, like I said, I thought this was a good segment. It was very relatable. I could sympathize with what Lincoln was going through. And I think they did well at acknowledging the problems of being in a big family without painting the family members as bad guys. Just that, yeah, when you're trying in a hurry or in a ruckus, things can break by accident, and so good on them for doing that. And as to be expected, we'll cover the B segment in tomorrow's. Take care, and until next time.